the truth about full-time travel is it's fantastic, but doesn't always go according to plan. We sat down the other day and just thought about the fact that we've been on the road for 3.5, 4 years, and what are the big challenges that we've suffered with as we travel. And we were a little bit surprised. So we've come up with a list of 10 things that we have found challenging. And some of these things aren't things that people generally talk about, but there are 5 things that we thought would be challenging that aren't as challenging as we thought it would be. So we're going to get into it. There's no editing. We're just going to roll through these. We've got a list here on our laptop. We'll just talk about the reality of what we see of full-time travel and some of the challenges that if you're planning to do the same thing, you may well run into. So the first one, Sarah, is accommodation. And that's finding accommodation at the right price that's suitable. What's your thoughts on that?
You can spend hours and hours and hours looking for the right accommodation, and there's places that you can obviously book longer periods of time that will help keep the cost down. But if you want the odd hotel here and there, you can just spend hours looking for the right location, the right budget.
Yeah, but also when you say about you can get something for a month at a time. So one of the challenges we've seen since we started travelling is using Airbnb. Airbnb has become more and more and more expensive and
less inviting.
Yeah, sharp practice. We've had more than our fair share of sharp practice. If you look back in our videos, we've made a couple of videos about Airbnb. But the problem is with Airbnb that you may think you'll look through and you'll do a short list of what you want from your place to stay. You see the one you want, and the great thing about the one you've chosen is because you're planning to stay for a month, you get a big discount, sometimes 40% discount. If you stay for 2 weeks, it might be a 20% discount. A week, you get a 10% discount. So you're kind of forced into making a decision way ahead of time, because if you really want the best places to stay at the right prices, you've got to book it way ahead of time. And then you'll walk in there and realise you booked it for a month and you don't even want to stay for a night.
You just get a bad feeling when you walk in.
It's challenging.
Find something else then.
Yeah.
Start all over again. And it's also the workplace availability. So obviously we've got a YouTube channel. We need somewhere to do this sort of video, and Neil to do his editing and be creative. And it's finding the right environment for us to have the workspace we need.
Yeah, most places they're almost like a hotel kind of setup, aren't they? But don't think, well, I'm all right then because I haven't got a YouTube channel. If you're travelling full time, you're going to spend a lot of time sat behind a laptop looking at different travel options and researching. It can take...
Even if it's just laptop work, keeping in touch with friends and things like that, and downloading photographs, you still need workplace.
But it can take days on end to do. And that's a challenge. That's something you need to just overcome, because it's very, very rare that you're going to find a place that you can do that. So often we find ourselves looking for a coffee shop that we like working in, but there you've got the distractions. I don't think we've ever found the perfect location. You're always having a compromise on that one. The next thing is about having backup plans. This is something that we are probably better than most at, to be honest. My career back when I worked was in resilience and disaster recovery. That means that what I did was plan for the unexpected.
You did?
So as we travel, we're always planning for the unexpected, but the unexpected always happens. That's the problem. We've had... Again, go back through our videos. You'll see numerous issues that we've suffered as we've travelled. Things that, are emotionally tough, physically draining, medical issues, all that kind of stuff. But you've got to be resourceful in the moment. I know we've had comments on our videos in the past where people have said, this is why we couldn't travel the way that you do. All the problems that you've shown in this video have been so difficult. But often when they're commenting, the issues they see in that video, it might be 5 issues that we've dealt with. I can tell you now, each of those issues have come up one at a time. You don't normally get hit with 5 things at once. And when they come up, you've got to have a mentality where you want to fix things. So you get a
problem
problem.
solving,
Yeah,
and
and you resolve it. And that's something that I think we're both good at doing together.
Yeah.
There are some things you're better at than me and vice versa. And we work on that together, don't we?
We do. We're a good team in that respect. I can just go off on a panic, and they'll like, "Come on, think about the solution, the problem, and let's work out a solution." So and in different scenarios, we'll calm each other down.
So that's the thing with Sarah. She's the panicker. I'm the
My
planner.
initial thing is
Yeah.
The next is finance and banking. So being on the road is not easy. Certainly to have new cards. Obviously, you've got to work out where you're going to get those delivered to, and trying to find ATMs, making sure you're not getting ripped off in those, and just doing your research there. Using bank cards if they get stopped, if they get stolen.
Yeah.
All of that absolutely can take its toll after a while.
And also paying in the local currency. So those things that Sarah's just spoken about. A few days ago, we needed to rent a car, and I use a specific card for renting a car when they want to put a charge on your card. So it's using up a big chunk of your available credit effectively. This was a week ago. Tried to use that card. It got rejected. They're not interested in, no, this card should work. It's rejected. They want another card. Those are the kind of challenges that occur. With ATMs, it's really difficult to tell whether an ATM is there to rip you off. So there's certain ATM brands in certain countries, Euronet in Europe. That's a classic. This video isn't sponsored by anybody, but we use Wise or TransferWise for the majority of our travel. And within the Wise app, there is a way where whichever country you're in, you can look at and it will show you which ATMs are the cheapest or free to use. That's a really, really good facility to use in their app if you've got that available to you. Now we're going to pick off two together. One is diet and maintaining your diet, and the other one is fitness. I'm all about the fitness, Sarah. Is this an issue that we suffer with?
It's certainly an issue we suffer with. So not going to the gym regularly, and we prefer to work out at home now anyway, but part of the accommodation choices are, have we got enough space to work out? And with your diet, it's so difficult to keep on top of how you want to eat all the time, is because you're in foreign countries and you want to try the food and not to be on a boring healthy diet. So it's very difficult to keep on top of that.
But with that as well, you said about working out at home, and you mean at home, you mean in our accommodation. But often in the accommodation, there isn't space to work out.
No. And you can't, well, people do carry a yoga mat. We personally don't carry a yoga mat around with us, but we probably need to start doing that.
No, we don't.
No.
But also, with regard to cooking in your accommodation, you don't always have all the implements or pots and pans and knives and all that kind of stuff to be able to cook.
One out of probably 50, you get all the equipment, and it's easy to do, but
that's a problem.
Tough.
Yeah, it's a problem. But the way we overcome that problem is often we will go out and buy a knife or buy a chopping board or buy a pot.
Initially we started travelling around, and we had a bag full of obviously knives and wooden spoons and graters and things, but you just can't carry that around with you all the time. And for security reasons, if you're doing hand luggage only, you can't carry knives, so you have to go and buy them locally.
I even used to carry a pizza tray. Have you
ever used it?
A 15-inch pizza tray. My goodness, we were not great travellers when we started.
I think it's because initially you think you can't live without your things that you like in the kitchen, but you can, and you just go and buy more.
And the next one is transportation. If you saw the video we released a couple of weeks ago on this channel, which was the issues, the bedlam, oh my goodness, that we suffered at Birmingham International Airport.
That's tough.
We had many people commenting on that video saying this is why we just don't fly anymore. And I used to love flying.
Yeah, we both did.
Hate it now.
I get more and more nervous as I get older about flying for some reason. Yeah, not bad, but I do get a few nerves.
What, with turbulence?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that's not stopping me flying at all.
Yeah.
But it's the whole build-up and the security, just how you feel in an airport, and you pay a fortune for everything. It's just... Yeah.
So one of the things that we've looked at doing, and we've done a bit of this in the past, we can do more in the future, is looking at other modes of transport, mixing it up. So one of those would be repositioning cruises. That's where you get on one port in one country and get off another part of the world. We did that.
And you're seeing bits of the world.
Yes, we did that last year. We went from Australia to Canada. We're doing another one later on this year. And then if we can get off the boat and then use other motor transport to get from there to our next location. Buses, trains, and actually it's something we're planning to do next year, where I would normally have said, subscribe to see that. But this is our, I don't know if you know, this is our but this is our little channel. This is To Go Roam Travel. This isn't our main channel. This is for us and you, people with an attention span where we can witter on a little bit. We're not expecting lots of viewers to get this, so we're not saying to you need to be subscribing, do what you like. But what I would say is next year we got plans for what we're going to be doing.
Loose plans.
Very loose plans. If that comes off, there's a couple of things that need to happen in the intervening period, but if that comes off, that's going to be loopy, crazy plans that we got coming up then. So that's the transportation one. Then we got the whole packing issue and possessions issue. Ryanair, the way they are.
Yeah. Certainly makes you skim down on stuff. And after travelling for 4 years, as we have, you start to reduce things as you go along. I can remember I actually think I did a video, but it was really bad, but doing all the things I was taking with me that I didn't think I could live without. And you buy things in countries. So both of us have reduced our wardrobe a lot when we get travelling, and certainly going on the lower cost airlines where you're just taking carry-on, you've got to skim down a lot, and you can learn to live with that wardrobe. Yes, it's not very exciting when you're used to a bigger wardrobe and changing.
It's not very exciting schlepping a load of stuff around with you as well.
Exactly, and that's the thing. You start to weigh up which is more important.
We do tend to travel just carry-on these days, unless we're doing some big trip somewhere. But that's a challenge, because the airlines, again, are always looking to squeeze you on something. That makes it more and more tricky for you as a traveller.
And obviously we have the camera equipment as well, and we've gone through a massive downsize on that, haven't you? Because you could hardly lift your laptop bag with all the equipment in the past. You could hardly lift it, so that wasn't good for you, so we've had to skim down on that.
Yeah, let me know actually, is that a video you'd be interested in seeing, what the camera equipment is that we use to make our videos? Because we have gone from what was massive, cumbersome stuff down to a bag which is that with everything in it, including tripods, monopods, multiple cameras. That's been an absolute joy. Yeah. It's so much easier to make videos as we travel now. Definitely. Doing it that way.
Actually, just going back on the transportation, the other important thing there is the rental cars. And the whole drama around a rental car, it absolutely fills me with dread. Just the whole stress of hiring the car and returning it. Unless you've done those videos of the car before and making sure any scratches or anything.
Yeah,
making sure they don't check anything.
A couple of key points here to pick up. Three key points, because if you're going to use rental cars, and you should use rental cars because that's where you can get to different places. All three of these are massive tips. The first one is when you pick the car up, as Sarah says, video around the car or take photographs.
Really close. We both. I go around with the video, and Neil, you take photographs and make sure the opposite.
You go around taking photographs.
Yes, I do take the photograph.
And I take the video.
I've got a keener eye than Neil, so I'll do the close-up photographs.
So what I do is I go around with just on my phone, and I'll walk around and I do a commentary as well. Because part of the commentary, I think about, if this turns into a claim, this can be useful. So, for example, I will do in the commentary, I'll walk around and say, it's very difficult to get to this part of the car because I parked the car right next to it. Mm-hmm. So I can video down here, but I can see there's something, but it's not perfect for me to get on video. And the one that I did just last week, looked at the speedometer and I said, so the speedometer says that this car has done 10,500 miles, but actually looking at the paperwork that they've asked me to sign, it's saying it's done 10,450. So it might say that between that and the other 50 that I've done something. I can show, and I'll pan up, look, I'm still in the spot, in there, we haven't left, there's another 50 miles on it, and I'll just talk randomly and say, it's raining, so I'm not going to be able to see this, because if things do turn badly and I need to turn to insurance, I'm giving them lots of evidence to work from. So coming to insurance, I can speak for the UK. I don't know about other nations, but we have in the UK something which is called car excess insurance. So when you go to a rental counter to pick up your car and they say, would you like our extra insurance? You go, oh, no, thank you. And they, oh, okay. So you realise that if something happens, it's going to cost you $2,000 and all that kind of stuff. And they scare you into taking their insurance. UK car excess insurance. Google that, and if you're in another country, you may have the same thing. And we get a policy for a year. We do a 12-month policy. Costs us about 80 to 100 quid, I think, including the US.
It's only you on there though.
Yeah.
So we may look at getting a second driver on there because at the moment you're doing all the driving. But I'm sure you can get a second driver on there.
Yeah, you can do.
So,
you can do. So that just gives us the peace of mind. We say to them, we don't want the insurance. Oh, well, it's going to cost you.
Yeah, you get a bit of grief. I always remember going to the States and you get a bit of grief on that, don't you? Because
you get it everywhere.
Because obviously earn commission on sales and things
you
like
get
that.
it everywhere.
Yeah.
If you're in Europe, there's a company called Gold Car. I will never forget Gold Car. I will never use them again. If you're ever coming to Europe from elsewhere and you're looking, you go, oh, Gold Car, I use them, they're cheap. You dare use Gold Car. I told you not to do that. So that's the second tip, car excess insurance. The third one, I think I mentioned in the last video that there are some things that we've been doing that we've taken from other YouTube videos, tips from people, that we're finding counter advice actually, or counter ways of doing it is better. So for example, one of the bits of advice we always took heed of is book your rental car way in advance because that's how you get the best prices. Give you an example. We booked the car that we've got at the moment where we are. Won't tell you where we are. We'll come to that in a later video. But we booked the car that we used to get here, I think a couple of months ago. I'll put it on screen so you can see when it was and what the cost was. So
it wasn't months and months ago. It was fairly recently.
It was a month or two ago.
Yeah.
So, and it was over 600 quid. And then 2 days before we were going to arrive, I just thought, I'll just have a look at that booking again. I looked at the booking and we could get the same car, the very, very same car for half the price.
I still don't know what happened there.
So
because it's coming into peak.
But you could say it's a VPN, you're in a different country. No, none of that. Tested out whether VPNs changed it. Nothing changed it. We just got lucky. So I cancelled the other booking, made this new booking, saved ourselves half price. So there's a really good tip. The next thing is travel itinerary coordination. Oh, this is the biggest. This is the biggest because
it's a full-time job.
Yeah, and we're planners by nature. We like to plan our future. And we know many people who travel the way we do that don't plan that far ahead. And we salute you because that's a good way to be. But one of the issues that we suffer with is we have commitments. We make commitments way in advance. So some things there's nothing you can do about. So for example, what's one recently? So we're doing a house sit for some cats, which we did a house sit for a year or so ago, and the people we did it for, they literally wouldn't want to leave their cats with anybody else apart from us. So we feel obliged to do it.
We do love the cats, although there'll be new kittens.
Yep.
So we don't know them yet, but we love the cats.
Yeah, we just feel obliged to do it. They're not friends of ours. We just, if they want us, and we're absolute cat lovers, there's going to be 3 cats and a brand new litter of kittens.
Yeah, we don't know
how many are going to be there. But that means we're having to build our itinerary around that. So we're having to go to the UK when we weren't planning to be in the UK. We would have to hire a car. We were actually deciding now we're not going to hire a car. We're going to get a train there. We're going to walk everywhere while we're there to the supermarket.
It's a little bit isolated, so that was a decision.
Zero benefit to us, but we're having to build an itinerary around that. And then we're having to build out how do we go from the UK to where we want to go next. So having these commitments is a real challenge. So one of the things we're going to try and do going forward is reduce the number of commitments that we have to maintain our flexibility on the road, really. So they're the 10 things that we struggle with. But then there are 5 things that we thought before we started travelling that we'd
They're
start.
quite biggies, these are.
Yeah. And we thought we would struggle with these.
Yeah, we did.
And we haven't. The first one, Sarah, is safety concerns.
I can remember the first place we started travelling was Mexico City, and anyone we spoke to just thought we were crazy, didn't they? Because sadly that's the reputation it's got. And I loved that city. Didn't feel threatened there whatsoever. It's fantastic. People were lovely, and we haven't had any situations at all where
No.
we felt really in danger, and that's something that you do find once you start travelling. It's that place. People are lovely.
There was
Had a
one.
few situations.
There's been an occasion in the US,
Yeah.
but other than that, there's been no other situations. This isn't to say, hey, go travel the world and relax. No, the way that we're able to do this is just have our spider senses up. So we're not fearful, we're just careful.
Just careful. Like you are just going into your local city, you still have, your spider senses with you.
Yeah, so if you've not travelled much and you're planning to do some more extensive travel, and this is one of the things holding you back, relax. Just take the same kind of precautions you would do in your home city and apply that wherever you go. And also look at advice where you're going to.
Yeah.
There are some countries where we haven't been to because the advice isn't great for that specific location. So that's that. The next one, language barriers. Has that been an issue?
Not been an issue at all. It's interesting what you can pick up when you're in a country to at least learn a couple of phrases before you get there. Your please and your thank yous and hellos. It makes a big difference. Sorry is a good one, or excuse me is a good one.
Yeah, I need sorry a lot. I tend to.
Yeah.
That's one of my key.
Yeah, that is your key one. But it hasn't been an issue to us at all. I find a big smile and a laugh. Make silly actions or whatever. Can you remember me ordering chicken?
I can, and I'm a bit more technical than that, so I like to use things like Google Translate. But Sarah will cluck like a chicken. Eat whatever works for you. Google Translate is great. Actually, the week after next, we're doing a video all about the most important apps you got to use when you're travelling, and then we got something which is better than Google Translate, but I'm going to save that for that video. So language barrier, a smile,
not been an issue,
and Google Translate, and clucking like a chicken will get you through anything. What about cultural differences? Will clucking like a chicken help with that?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it will do. Cultural differences is something that we were mindful of, and we were thinking that as we travel, we may be affronted by things which are so culturally different to what we've ever seen before. Would that be difficult? And actually, we've been to some countries where the culture is extremely different to what we've ever experienced. It's always been an uplifting experience. It's sometimes been a comical experience. So, for example, we did a road trip across Turkey for around 6 months. Turkey is a Muslim country predominantly, and they have a call to prayer, which can happen at most inopportune moments. If
you're YouTubers,
4 o'clock in the morning,
yeah.
And if you're YouTubers trying to make a video, you don't realise you're right next to a mosque, minarets going off. So you got that, and then in Mexico they like to set off firecrackers,
and in Malaysia. Firecrackers,
I remember
but the Mexican ones were more like silly hours in the morning.
First time we were in San Miguel de Allende.
Never ever forget that moment.
San Miguel de Allende, about 5 a.m, all these firecrackers went off. I shot out of bed. I thought there were gunmen in our apartment. But this is why you travel, is the cultural differences. So although we were nervous, we've now realised, don't be. This is all good. This is why you're out there on the road. Next one is budgeting for fluctuations. So before we gave up our day jobs to travel the world for 10 years and retire early, all that kind of good stuff, I predominantly, more than Sarah, was really, really scared about the budget. And that would be, okay, I've seen people on YouTube saying it only costs $2,000 to live in wherever in the world, but is it really? Since we started travelling, what we found is that the budget will work its way out. So, for example, if you're planning long-term world travel and then you say, right, we're going to do a 2-month road trip in the US, do it. What you will innately do is say, right, if we're doing 2 months in the US, that means we've got to do 4 months in a low cost of living country because the US is so expensive. So if you did 2 months in the US followed by 4 months in Thailand, that balances things out. Or you're going to do 3 months travelling across Europe, then you need to do 6 months in Vietnam or somewhere in South America, something like that. So budgeting for those fluctuations happens automatically in a way.
One thing we have learned is the budget, it goes a long way once you start travelling. Yes, you can have more expensive countries and less expensive, but it's really interesting how much you can actually squeeze into your budget.
Yeah, so again, one of the challenges I would say before we started travelling is thinking that travel is expensive, because it is, isn't it? So two things here. One is, whenever you hear people talk about retirement, like traditional retirement, it's I'm going to work for years and years and years. Then when I retire, the world cruise around the world, and that means I've got to have some serious wealth to do this. When you travel properly.
And we talk about cruising, and that doesn't have to be expensive at all. That's a cheaper way of doing it.
Yeah, but when you're travelling properly, it's not that expensive. You just have to be a bit cleverer about what you do.
So I think it's really surprised us how little we can travel for.
Well, basically, Sarah, our cost of living since we've been travelling the world is less than when we sat still in the UK. So read into that what you will. The last one, access to healthcare. This has been my specialist subject.
I'll let you talk on that one.
Yeah, so I was worried because I come from the UK and our healthcare in the UK is amazing. You may be sat there thinking, I worry about this because I'm sat in the US and the US healthcare is amazing.
Nowhere in the world has.
I'm sat in Canada and the Canada healthcare is amazing. I live in Australia and the U. Listen, everywhere we go in the world, the healthcare is absolutely fantastic and really, really well priced.
In most countries, you have experienced something.
I have. But you yesterday.
Oh, yes. Well, I needed a dentist yesterday. I broke a tooth, so I had to go and find a dentist. But
Sarah, a couple of days ago. Do you know, a couple of days ago.
I've never broken a tooth before.
She didn't have a care in the world, this girl. She was having a whale of a time, and she was eating her lunch, and it was a pretty big lunch. What was it, hummus?
No, avocado on rye bread, which is soft, obviously, tomato, and cottage cheese.
Doesn't that sound amazing? Anyway, she was eating that,
lovely.
And she broke a tooth.
How did a tooth break in that?
All of her hopes and dreams. I just looked at her face. She felt her future was just gone from her. Everything that she hoped for was gone because of this tooth she broke. But
I've never broken a tooth before.
We called a dentist.
Yes, we did, yes.
Following day,
thankfully,
you're in there.
because you do your resilience and things, Neil's like, I've already researched the dentist in the area because that is somewhere you do frequently.
Yeah. Don't worry about that. I found a perfect dentist.
Was straight on it, and we rang and got an appointment,
there
and it was all fine. It was just a bit frozen for a couple of hours, wasn't I? Dribbling,
yeah, like normal.
It's fine.
So that's the 10 things that we're suffering with and the 5 things that we're not suffering with.
Sorry, just to go back on the healthcare though, where you have needed a lot of healthcare, it's actually now we will go back to to that country to get any health care done, our annual plans and things like that. We're going to definitely go back there and
we'll probably be going to Malaysia most of the time to get annual checks, but we'd happily go anywhere in Asia for that. Because the quality of care is so good. The cost is fantastic, but the quality is what we go for. It's exceptional, and the speed of everything is pretty special. If you haven't seen on our main channel, To Go Rome, have a look on there, and you'll see some of me looking really unhappy with hospitals. Check that out, and you'll see what we're talking about. It is really, really good. What I want from you is this. Do you like this style of video? This is for you, by the way. This isn't for the world of YouTube. The world of YouTube, I'm going to be interested in watching To Go Rome Travels with Neil and Sarah, because this is for people who've got an attention span, people like you. So do you like this when we sit and chat, have a coffee and tell you some of the issues we've got? Or do you like it when we're walking around towns or areas and showing you? Let us know in the comments below, because we want to make this the channel that you want to watch and the channel that we really enjoy making. What's our dream, Sarah?
Our dream is world travel.
What's yours?